So I would say Bitcoin is undervalued even at 100,000. My thinking is we should have probably been at 200 by now. If you look at who is buying Bitcoin, the brightest people are saying buy Bitcoin, and they buy Bitcoin and nothing else. Like Michael Saylor only buys Bitcoin. He doesn't buy other digital assets. He doesn't buy gold or real estate. It's only Bitcoin. The US, if it wants to play the Bitcoin game, and I don't know if you follow politics in the US, but Trump has said they want to create a Bitcoin reserve, a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Makes
If
sense.
they do that, they can simply sell gold to buy Bitcoin. And in which case, you kind of get two birds with one stone. You demonetize gold, weaken your enemies, and then you strengthen your own position.
Samson Mow begins by highlighting the enormous potential of Bitcoin, claiming that it would still be greatly undervalued even if it were priced at $100,000. He believes that given the declining value of global fiat currencies, rising debt levels, and growing reliance on central bank operations to support economies, Bitcoin should already be worth close to $200,000. Samson makes a strong case that Bitcoin is not just a valuable asset, but also a lifesaver in the turbulent world of the global financial system. Bitcoin offers unmatched security, accessibility, and growth potential in contrast to conventional stores of value like real estate, gold, or fiat currencies, making it the only dependable option for long-term asset preservation in a world that is becoming more unstable by the day. Before we delve further into Samson Mow's audacious predictions and observations, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications for more similar content. Thank you, and let's get started.
Maybe reiterate your thesis for Bitcoin and why you think that $100,000 is not the top yet.
Yeah, so I would say Bitcoin is undervalued even at 100,000. My thinking is we should have probably been at 200 by now. But given all of the current macroeconomic conditions, the failure of fiat currencies around the world, the need for central banks to intervene constantly, and just the general perception of Bitcoin changing after the ETFs launched, I believe that changed the entire game. I really don't think there is anywhere else to go but to Bitcoin, and this trend will simply continue as conditions and more uncertainty arises in the world. So you might think, okay, Bitcoin is a tech stock. It's trading well. I'm going to exit out of this position and go into something else. But, you know, there is really nothing else to go into. Like, what do you want to hold? Real estate? Gold? Fiat money? I don't know. I don't think any of those things are worth holding. If the trend is that corporations like MicroStrategy are rapidly stacking Bitcoin, nation states are rapidly accumulating Bitcoin, nation states are making Bitcoin legal tender, adding it to treasuries, you know, these things are a sea change. And I believe it signifies that Bitcoin is on the way to become the reserve asset of the financial system. So my view is there is no top, and the best thing you can do is buy at any given time that you have the opportunity and the capital to buy. And if you look at Bitcoin right now, we're kind of consolidating in the 90K range, 90 plus, and all the pullbacks to me seem manufactured. It's traders pushing the price down to buy more. And if you look at the chart this morning, you see the green candles, the stairway to heaven. Some entity is taking advantage of coordinated FUD, which is the DOJ is greenlit to sell. Like that was done on the 30th of December. Why is it hitting the market now while the jobs news is coming out? And, you know, it all happens at the same time. And I think there is coordination to suppress the price for people
Samson,
to buy it.
Can I ask you, why do you want to own an asset that's so feeble it can be pushed around by random people?
It can be pushed short term because there are 2 million plus coins sloshing around on exchanges. So traders can push the price down, but it's only doable for a short amount of time. If
pretty
you
weak
look
though,
at,
isn't it?
It's what?
It's pretty weak, that, isn't it?
I mean, go look. You're in the UK, right? What's the pound doing today?
It's not being pushed around by Mickey Mouse organizations trying to buy more.
It's being pushed around by some economic factors. If David, you pull up the chart.
Yeah, global forex is a big deal, and it's pushed. If it's pushed around at all, it's pushed around by governments, not by shadowy people traders that want to buy more.
But Clem, governments are buying it now. What makes you think governments are not pushing the price down to buy more?
They're buying gold too. It's not going to go through the roof. Well, it might do well over the next 4 or 5 years, but it's not going to double and triple and go 10x.
Right.
I mean, they're buying gold big time. I mean, China's loading up like trucks of it, but it's not going to 10x. And, people who look at Bitcoin now, they're looking at 1 million. That's a 10x. not 20%. It's 10x you're talking about. And, the Chinese government, the second most powerful country in the world, is filling itself up with gold. It's not going to 10x. It might go 20% in the next year, 30%.
Yeah, but gold is old. And there is a
Gold is
theory
old,
out
for
there
sure.
that the US, if it wants to play the Bitcoin game, and I don't know if you follow politics in the US, but Trump has said they want to create a Bitcoin reserve, a
Yeah,
strategic
makes
Bitcoin
sense.
reserve.
Makes
If they
sense.
do that, they can simply sell gold to buy Bitcoin, and in which case you kind of get two birds with one stone. You demonetize gold, weaken your enemies, and then you strengthen your own position.
The adoption of Bitcoin has enormous global ramifications. Samson Mow emphasizes that although countries such as China have been collecting gold, a transition to Bitcoin is unavoidable due to its superior attributes. He also highlights how adopting Bitcoin as a reserve asset might benefit the US strategically. The United States may assure a more stable economic future and obtain an advantage over geopolitical adversaries by doing this. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and enable post notifications if you have a strong interest in learning about the future of finance and the function of digital assets like Bitcoin. This will ensure that you never miss anything.
If you look at who is buying Bitcoin, the brightest people are saying buy Bitcoin, and they buy Bitcoin and nothing else. Like Michael Saylor only buys Bitcoin. He doesn't buy other digital assets. He doesn't buy gold or real estate. It's only Bitcoin. And I don't know, I can try to unpack some of your claims, like the flaws, the whole point of Bitcoin is that it's a bearer asset. So yes, in theory, if your cybersecurity is bad, people can hack it and hack you and steal your Bitcoin. But the counterpoint to that is not to centralize it into a government institution or database, which also will get hacked all the time, but to up your security and use multi-sig and technology that's available, like hardware wallets, to secure your Bitcoin properly. So the Bitcoins get stolen because you don't have the good security. This is the first finite asset that we've ever encountered. And to look at it as if it's a tech stock is a mistake, because this is like, Clem is representative of a lot of people and maybe a lot of Wall Street thinkers, but they don't fully understand that there is simply a point at which there is no more Bitcoin available. And yes, there can be paper Bitcoin in derivatives or just naked selling, like in the FTX case, where they sold Bitcoin they didn't have. But all of these things come to roost. And again, nobody really figures out what a scarce asset like Bitcoin will do when the shit hits the fan, because it's never happened before. Every other asset, there's always been more supply when more supply is needed. And people are treating Bitcoin like these things we've had in the past, but it is a different beast altogether. So I think that there's another point which I want to touch on, which is the cycles. So if you flip a coin 3 times and you get heads 3 times in a row, or let's say you flip a coin 4 times and you get a pattern, right? You get heads, tails, and then you flip it again a few times and you get heads, tails, and you do it again and you get the same pattern. Is that going to keep happening forever? I don't think so. Each flip is independent of another flip. So there is no guarantee that there are cycles. And I think it's a mistake to assume that I'm going to trade this forever and there are always going to be these cycles. Because what Bitcoin is doing is replacing the financial system. It's not an asset that's trading within the boundaries of the financial system. It is going to be the financial system. And the way I like to look at it is the German mark collapse. It's not that, it went through a cycle of boom and bust and then, it slowly faded out. It just went poof and it's no longer used ever again. And this is what's going to happen to fiat currencies. They will all be replaced by Bitcoin as money. Well, debt is a problem everywhere and it's becoming more and more evident, right? Like if you look at the gilts, they're already, the rates are going up right now again. They went crazy in 2022, September, and now it seems to be repeating again. But all of this is because nobody wants to lend governments money, so that they pay more. And it's the same case in the US. Debt is growing at an astronomical rate, 36 point something trillion now. It just keeps going up 100 billion every 100 days or something like that. But it's just unsustainable. So something has to happen. And this is why there is a push to create the Department of Government Efficiency to cut costs, to kind of fix the debt problem. But I just don't see that being able to fix, because the interest compounds and it's really hard to cut costs drastically, especially when there's an entrenched system in place that depend on the government spending to function and get their paychecks. So I think the way around that is to rebase to Bitcoin. And there is hints of that when Trump was saying maybe we can use Bitcoin to pay off the debt. And other politicians in the US have said the same thing too. So if that does catch on, then you do have this step transformation of Bitcoin into a reserve asset. And this is why there is no cycle. It's just replacing. Well, I think they need to accumulate some Bitcoin in the treasury. So they want 1 million coins, which is difficult to acquire. And then you would be able to say, you know, we'll meet debt requirements with Satoshi. So $1 equals 1 Satoshi now, which puts Bitcoin at $100 million a coin. And then at that point, you just say, you know, you get a Satoshi every dollar that we owe you. Let's say you own 100% of your debt. How are you going to trade internationally? Why do people want your dollar that's kind of worthless at that point? People want what is valuable. And if you look at the monetary system, the current financial system rather, it's starting to die. When the Russia-Ukraine war started, the Russian system was cut off from SWIFT. And then a lot of their assets were seized too. So would other countries like China, one of the biggest trading partners of the US, want the dollars, want to keep their assets, quote unquote, in T-bills? I don't think so. I think they would want hard assets. So the debt is absolutely a problem. And you can say you pay it yourself, but it just ruins the currency at that point. It just becomes worthless.
Yeah, the dollar's not going anywhere. If anything, it's going up.
The dollar,
people have been singing about the dollar dying for years and years, ever since I was a child, and here it still is, still strong, still the number one currency.
It is the number one fiat currency because it's the reserve asset currently. But if you go back in history and you look at every reserve currency of the world, they last for about 100 years, more or less. And if you go back and you look at the dollar, like David can pull up a chart, the purchasing power of a dollar over the last 100 years, from 1924 to 2024, it's gone to about zero.
Samson Mow gives a compelling overview of Bitcoin's revolutionary potential and the reasons it differs from all other assets. He highlights that the real worth of Bitcoin is found in its scarcity. It is the first finite asset in history, and many people are unaware of its special characteristics. Bitcoin is immune to inflationary pressures because of its fixed supply, which guarantees that once it is fully mined, there will never be more, unlike traditional assets whose supply can be expanded as needed. Samson also challenges the notion that Bitcoin should be viewed as a tech stock or other cyclical asset, contending that it is not only a component of the financial system, but has the potential to completely replace it. He cautions that fiat currencies won't depreciate gradually, but rather will quickly collapse as their debt loads become unmanageable, drawing comparisons to the demise of fiat currencies like the German mark. He draws attention to the astonishing rate of increase in the US debt, which currently stands at over $36 trillion. The necessity to switch to Bitcoin is highlighted by this debt issue, which is made worse by growing interest rates and diminishing worldwide confidence in fiat currencies. He even makes mention to indications of this change, such as Donald Trump's earlier remarks regarding the use of Bitcoin as a reserve asset to settle debt, indicating that the concept is becoming more popular. According to Mao, Bitcoin represents the cornerstone of a new international monetary system, not only an investment or inflation hedge. In the future, he sees governments holding Bitcoin, which might result in situations where a Satoshi, the smallest unit of the cryptocurrency, becomes the accepted unit of exchange. He contends that this might replace failing fiat currencies and stabilize international commerce and economic systems. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.